Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winning Women Talk Show. I'm your host, Regina Shearer, and I'm so glad you're here with us this evening. And we know we started a couple minutes late, so please forgive us with the technical issues. But we're so glad that you're still waiting for us and that you're here with us now on the Winning Women Talk Show. Thank you for wherever you are in this world, listening or viewing, for being part of this show tonight. Your presence is important to us. And so, as you know, if you've been a regular on this show, watching us or listening to us each week, you know that we present a different woman who shares with everyone her journey to success. And that journey varies from woman to woman, and success is different from woman to woman. But what we have found over time is that these are women who are doing what fulfills their desires and what they're passionate about, what gets them going and excited, and what they enjoy doing in life. So success is for many of them is not measured in dollars. It's measured in how what they do can benefit the lives of others. And so I hope that tonight, as you listen to our guest, you'll be motivated and inspired. And I know you're going to be amazed as well. And that you might say to yourself, you know what? If she can do it, so can I. And so if that feeling starts coming over you and you have questions or comments you'd like to make, we invite you to participate in this show. You can call us at 781-384-5587. That's 781-384-5587. Or you can email me, and that's Regina at rgbinternetradio.com, because we would love to hear from you. Our guest this evening is Jasmine Naylor, and she is the Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer at Naylor Nation Real Estate and Handy Hands Management. Both of these are organizations that Jasmine co-founded with her husband, and they're operating successful real estate companies, including 30 long-term rentals across Massachusetts and Puerto Rico. They also fix and flip properties, and recently they've added new construction development to their portfolio. Both of them also serve as court-appointed receivers in Hampton County, Massachusetts. Jasmine is the founder of Jasmine Naylor Enterprise. Yes, she's doing other things too. And with that is a consulting firm that provides financial education and coaching to empower people in changing their relationships with money in life, business, marriage, and ministry. She is the former Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer of the Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers in Boston, Mass., and helped launch its first Health Equity Institute. She was also the Chief Executive Vice President and Privacy Officer at Caring Health Center, which is a center that is serving over 19,000 underserved and medically vulnerable communities across Western Mass. Jasmine has held roles in finance, administration, marketing, healthcare, government, education, aerospace. Yep, there's one. Real estate, human services, and of course, she is a woman of faith, and so she's held roles in ministry in various churches in Springfield, Massachusetts. All of these followed after she started her career path in corporate logistics management at Collins Aerospace in Connecticut. Jasmine earned her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, her Master of Sciences in Nonprofit Management and Philanthropy, and she has a Master of Business Administration, an MBA, in Entrepreneurial Thinking and Innovative Practices from Bay Path University, and was named a Presidential Scholar and Alumni of the Year. There's so much more to her that she's going to tell us about herself. So welcome, Jasmine, to the Winning Women Talk Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Well, I was so excited Um, the listeners and viewers tonight are going to learn a lot more about you, but just in the information that you provided for me, as well as our pre-show conversation, I am so excited about the things that you are passionate about, the things that you're engaged in, and also that journey that you took to becoming what I know everyone will agree with me about, that you're a winning woman. And so I always ask our guests to start off by telling us about themselves. We want to know about you growing up and everything that it took for you to get on this trajectory and in doing the things you're doing now.
So if I take it all the way back, when I was growing up, I grew up in poverty, and I always had a deep desire to change my location, change my mindset, and um, I would say I was born in the wrong place, and I just had to figure out how to get myself out of that place by the grace and mercies of God. And so I thought my way out of that particular location was via education. And so I had my head down academically, regardless of what was going around me in the community. And I stood focused on doing well and trying to get myself to college, all expenses paid as much as possible, so that I could change my location and be able to have more stability. Growing up, I experienced housing insecurity. And so, in the back of my mind, I always knew that I would be a real estate investor of some sort, at minimum, my first home to be a multifamily, so that I could ensure that the mortgage slash rent, which is what I was used to paying growing up, would be covered majorly, mostly, or partially by someone else, and then I would offset the other amount. And so I stuck to my plan. I did well academically. I got into a college. I got into a number of colleges. I went to the school. I've always been financially focused and had a gift in that arena, even though I came from and out of financial lack. But I knew I was going to go to a school that cost me the least amount of money. And so when the entrance letters came in saying that I was accepted, I laid out the FAFSA, the financial aid documentation that came.
Yes.
The letter getting in didn't matter to me. It was the financial aid letter that mattered to me most. And
Mhm.
so I laid those out, and I saw who gave me closest to a free ride as possible. And that's the school that I went to. And interestingly, I ended up transitioning from that school and going to another school and finishing it at two different places. But I left school probably only having about 15,000 in student loans,
Wow.
luckily, and I was able to get out of that relatively quickly. Today, I think a standard semester is like 30 grand, that folks are walking away with debt, unfortunately. So I graduated, and then right after I graduated, my husband and I, at that point, I was already married. So I met my husband in high school, which I think is an important topic that we'll discuss in a little bit. But so when I graduated high school, when I graduated college, I knew I wanted the multifamily, as I previously said. And so I went with my husband and began to search for multifamilies. And I ended up finding a multifamily and put an offer on it before my husband even got a chance to see it. And my offer was accepted. Our offer essentially was accepted. And he trusted me. And so we ended up getting our first home. And that was how we got our foot in the door for real estate, and literally learned everything as we went. So we were getting the leaky toilet phone calls. We were living with our residents. We turned our 2-family into a 3-family, and essentially had our mortgage entirely paid for, as well as our housing expenses. Your light bill, your gas bill, your water bill. We literally had all that stuff paid for because of that. And then that was only a 2-bedroom unit that we were in there. We were ready to expand our family. And so we began to look for another multifamily. And so then we went into another multi, but probably about 30% bigger than that prior one. that gave us like 5 bedrooms, so we could have as many kids as we wanted to at that point. So we went from multi to multi, bought a mobile home, renovated that, lived in it for about 9 months, sold that to a first-time home buyer and acted as the bank for them. Then we ended up buying a single family at that point. And all along, I was building my career. You heard it went from aerospace, it went to community health. I've always worked in ministry. My father was a preacher. My husband's parents are preachers as well. So when I was at my family's church, I worked in it. When I was under his family's church, I worked and held so many different roles along with my husband. And so along the way, I was picking up all of these skills and these skill sets and putting them in my toolbox, and different doors of opportunity would open for me. And I was able to enter into executive leadership without technical experience, just by meeting my then boss while I was doing my master's degree. And she liked my style, I guess, and saw how I was on my computer balancing my checkbook, making sure every dollar was accounted for. I was working after hours as well in that role in aerospace. And she had said to me before she was going into the CEO role, she had said to me, I would love for you to come work for me. And I told her, well, I'm doing just fine at United Technologies Corporation. This is a top, I don't know if it was a 500, 100 company at that time. They're paying for that degree I was getting. I ended up getting 2 degrees fully paid for by them, plus 10,000 stock options after I completed each one. I was like, this company is doing wonders for me right now. I'm not interested in going anywhere, but keep me in mind. So we built a really great relationship, and we would meet together quarterly. And one of the days she said, she offered me a few jobs along the way over a couple of years, and I politely declined them. And she ended up coming to me one time, and this point, it was a perfect juxtaposition of, I felt led to leave into something else, and I had a few job offers on the table from United Technologies, but nothing felt like it was the right fit. And I felt that if I took any of those roles, that I would be bored within about a year. And a bad thing for me is to be bored. It's counterproductive for me. So I was at lunch with her, letting her know this, and she said, oh, this is music to my ears. I have the perfect position for you. And she says, my second in command, my chief executive vice president and privacy officer role, I want you to come in as my second and help me run the company. And that's essentially how I catapulted from the aerospace industry into community health, technically with no experience, but technically with all the experience, because I had all these tools in my tool belt. And this is the CEO, and clearly she knows what's transferable and not. And in addition to that, she was a woman of faith. And so she was a minister herself of her own ministry. I think it was like one of those God winks where the other thing to that is, it was a true God wink, because right before I had gotten the offer from her, I had been declined for an offer for the department I was already in to lead it. And so probably 10 or 15 people had gone for that position, and I was declined for it, but I knew I was going to be rejected, because in like one of the first interviews, the existing supervisor, he had made a comment specifically about my real estate experience. He stated to me, well, how do you think you're going to be able to take on this demanding role and also manage your real estate? Something is going to have to be a priority. And so the way that he said it in my spirit, I already knew I wasn't going to get this role, because it was said in a way as if I can't be multifaceted, which I've always been multifaceted. So I didn't get that role, and nobody else in the department did, but this one person, of course, because it's only one role. And I remember going through that experience, and I was happy for the person who got it, because I actually trained them. So they were getting a job, and I felt that was a compliment to me. You came in after me, I trained you, and now you're going to be the supervisor. I'm happy for you. I believe in celebrating others, because when you don't celebrate others, you miss the opportunity to be celebrated. And so I was happy for him, but I noticed how everybody else that had went and didn't get it, they were so nasty about it, and the way that they were talking about him getting the position. So, anyways, I was like, listen, I'm happy. I'm going to support him as best I can. I think he's going to do a phenomenal job. And I minded my business and went out my way. And I didn't have any saltiness about the situation. And so, fast forward to that lunch that I'm at with my former MBA peer. She now is offering me her second in command role. And it was very close, probably not even a couple months from the rejection that I had received. And so I also think it's important to pass your tests because we're always in a test of some sort. And I believe at that moment, I was in a test of, are you qualified and does your character meet the expectations that are needed in the next level that I'm bringing you to? And so I felt like I passed that test because I was 100% graceful in being rejected. And so I go into that particular role and I operate in that role, I think maybe 5 to 7 years. I can't remember now, 2015 to 2022, 7 years,
Yes.
or 2021. And then it's like the same thing happens to me again. I was had the opportunity in that role to work with somebody that was going to be a CEO of all of the community health centers in Massachusetts. So there's a PCA, as they call it, primary care association, and they oversee the 52 health centers. Think of it like the NBA association. You don't own the NBA league teams, but you support all of the teams and you have some type of affiliation with them. And so there was somebody that was going into that role as well. And one day I was coaching them. You know, we had built a relationship over the 7 years. And I was coaching that particular person about him going into his CEOship and how he should negotiate, walking into the footsteps of a CEO that had been in operation for over 40 years, and just giving him feedback because I have a strategist background and I have insight based on the different boards that I sat on, based on my relationships in the organization I was in at the time. And so he would call me for mentorship and for strategy in that particular area. And so while I was giving it to him, he had stated to me, you know, when I get into this role, I'm going to need someone to be my right hand, someone to help me implement the vision that I have for this company. And it sounded very familiar to my last role. And I happened to be in a state where it was that nudge to go had arrived. But I, in my mind, said the nudge to go was going to be to entrepreneurship. I always had a desire to do entrepreneurship full time. And so, and God in his infinite wisdom was like, no, there's one more stop you have to make to pick up some more tools before you head out into entrepreneurship. And it was with that particular CEO. So he ended up becoming the CEO and had called me when we had that conversation. I had mentioned to him, if you think I'm qualified for the position that you're describing to me, by all means, throw my hat in the ring. And so it was just a statement. There was no application. There was no follow-up conversation. It was just a statement that I said. And a month or two later, so maybe, yeah, February, I think he was rolling in. Anyways, I can't get the timeline right off the top of my head. But nonetheless, he got into the CEO-ship role. And then he called me back one day and we're just chatting and I'm asking how it's going and giving him some feedback on things. And then he starts asking me a couple questions and he says, hey, what do your direct reports say about you? What do they say about this or what do they say about that? And I remember him asking me these questions and I had just had dialogue with my direct reports. And so I could easily rattle off, well, I could tell you my strengths is this or this. I could tell you my weaknesses are this. I could tell you this is what they would say about me. This is what we're working on. I just rattle it off. And then he says to me, okay, I need you to take me seriously. And I'm like, I'm always serious. And I say, what? And he says, I want to offer you my chief of staff role. But I understand this is a big decision. And he had already met my family. He said, I want you to discuss this with your family and see if they will grant you the permission to come work for me in Boston. I was in Western Mass, and this is in the eastern part of the state. So it's a
Right.
90-minute commute. This is the middle of COVID. So it was majority remote. So that really wasn't a big issue. So anyways, I said, okay, I'll ask my husband. I went back and asked my husband and he said, by all means, I think that's a perfect position. So I went into that role and then within a month or two, elevated to his executive vice president. And then was his sidekick essentially in helping him implement and launch different things and hire different CEOs and work across the 52 health centers as well. All the while, I'm having real estate in the background. And then during the 2016-ish, 2018-ish era, I ended up selling all my real estate. And I sold it because I said, I'm going to double down in my career. My husband was in music education. He also had a side business as well related to it. And we said, you know what? I'm tired of the toilet phone calls. I am getting rid of the real estate. I'm going to get increases over here. It's going to replace the income I'm making over there. And I'm just going to do this career thing and be a career woman with my husband. He's going to be a career man. And lo and behold, that didn't last too long. So within a year or two, I was like, hold on a second. It had come to a point where I believed that this needed to happen. And what needed to happen was I was having a hard time getting time off. And I was a top performer. And I had always been, by the grace and mercies of God, a top performer in any role that I've held. I've been able to master it. Even if I didn't know anything about it from the beginning, I was a quick learn. So at this point, for whatever reason, and I believe it needed to happen, I started to have a hard time getting time off. And I had to like jump through all of these hoops to get time off. And I'm like doing things that nobody else has to do. I'm covering everybody's time off. People are taking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the CMOs off, the HR directors off, the CFOs off, and Jasmine's covering everybody. And, you know, never an issue. CEO takes time off. Don't ever have to call the CEO when the CEO is off. And even the CEO's husband said, wow, this is amazing. She never has to worry when she goes out. But I believe that atmospheric shift had to occur to create the perfect environment for me to say that one sentence to my next boss, that there was an opportunity coming my way, that I had to be in the perfect position to be able to catch that opportunity. And so that frustration not only allowed me to have this other door open for my final pit stop in corporate America, but it also hightailed me back into real estate with my husband. So I had to miss a Naylor Nation family vacation because I couldn't get the time off. And that infuriated me. And we're about to go on another one in a couple days. And I didn't like missing, right? Why should I miss, especially when I'm a top performer? But nonetheless, me and my husband sat down, we chit-chatted, and we said, okay, we cannot be subject to a W-2 exclusively. We know how to build wealth, and we know how to do it through real estate. So we need to go back into real estate, and we need to work ourselves out of our 9-to-5s. And so we put a plan together, and we wrote it on my dry eraser board at that job before I left to the next one, and said, this is how we're going to do it. This is the way it's going to happen. And we, like the Bible says, write the vision and make it plain so we can run with it. That's exactly what we did. Now, the vision was we are getting out of the 9-to-5. The plan, we had a rough draft plan, and then you allow God to change that plan as you go. And so my husband came back to me after we were head down looking for new real estate deals to get back into the game. And he says to me, I can't work my 9-to-5 plus also work on the side business he was having, and then also try to get us, pushed back into the real estate lane. And so I say to him, I said, well, if you want to leave your job, you can leave your job tomorrow. And I could say that because I was a finance manager. I understood the inflows, the outflows. I understood what we could go without, what I could re-maneuver, what I could cut out of our budget. And so within a week, he was out of his job. So he left his teaching job. Within a week, his boss flipped, lost it, couldn't believe it. And he tried to tell him, this isn't about more money. This isn't about a schedule. There's nothing you can do to get me to stay. This is about my future, my legacy, my destiny. And so, I apologize. It's on such short notice. But again, it was an opportunity. The opportunity was betting on ourselves. And his wife saying, which is me, hey, let's do this. Let's go all in. And so he left his job. his boss was highly upset. All of his students were, they cried, which it breaks my heart because he is and was a phenomenal teacher. And he had over 200 students, and he had these conferences and these concerts that were just beautiful, immaculate, massive, so well organized. It was just amazing. And it's inner city school as well. And or Black teachers at all. And
Right.
so it definitely, we know that hurt, but we also understood that we had to catch the wind while the wind had set and set our sails on that. And so very shortly after, my husband probably left in October, and very quickly we got a house under offer, not a house, a 9-unit building, which essentially replaced his salary. And then we just began to continue to buy one at a time.
Okay, Jasmine, I don't know if you can hear me, but I believe you're having some internet connection problems. And I know our viewers and listeners don't know, but you are talking to us from across the waters. I believe you're in Puerto Rico right now. So if you can log out and log back in, maybe that'll make a difference. If you can hear me, I hope you can. So while she's doing that, already you can tell she's been doing some amazing things, and she's an amazing person, taking advantage of her gifts, her financial knowledge, her business degrees, and all the things she learned there, and of course, her business experience. And while she is hopefully logging out, we are going to take a moment to hear a word from one of our sponsors. So don't go too far. Go rush and get something to drink or something to eat real quick. And we'll take this commercial break and we will be right back.
At Portal to Hope, we're here to help victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking crimes. We provide support, resources, and hope to those who need it most. We believe that everyone deserves to live a life free from violence. If you or someone you know is in danger, please reach out for help. Call us at 781-338-7678. We offer a variety of services including counseling, legal aid, job assistance, and housing support. We also work to raise awareness about these issues and to advocate for change. Together, we can create a world where everyone is safe and free from violence. Portal to Hope is here for you.
And we are back, and I believe our guest is back as well. So,
I apologize.
no, that's okay. I'm glad you were able to log back in. So it worked. We had an opportunity to take a quick break for one of our sponsors, and now you're back. And I explained that you're talking to us from across the waters, and so it's not unusual that those things will happen, especially when you're doing distance remotes. You were telling us that you bought a building that covered his salary,
Yes.
and the Jasmine strategy was working. You thought it through. so
Yes.
so both of you quit your job. Did you quit your job at that time as well?
So no, he went first, and his assignment was hashtag free Jasmine. That was the slogan that we had. So his job was to focus on us acquiring and to free me from my 9 to 5. And we would collaborate, and I would give the strategy. I would review the deals that he was finding and support in any way that I could, because I had a high demanding job in the middle of COVID in community healthcare. And his job was boots on the ground, finding the deals, executing, and managing everything really until I got free, because I had such a demanding role. So slowly but surely, or quickly, as people can understand. So 2020, January 2020, we got back into real estate with 9 units, then picked up a three family, a three family, a three family. And then at some point you realize, or for us, we realize, well, we can't save fast enough. And long-term rentals have money come in slowly, and they build equity as well. So we said, okay, what are we going to do to be able to continue in this game and to keep course with our plan? And so we decided to get into flipping. So we kept our long-term rental, continued to buy as we could with that, and then got in the flipping business, which, for those who don't know, flipping is when you buy a distressed property. Something's wrong with it, doesn't look too good, it maybe is a little shabby, and you invest some money into it by sprucing it up. That could be doing the kitchens, the bathrooms, all new paint jobs, could be floors, could be walls, doors, windows. Every house is different. And so you begin to look for properties that are discounted because of their condition and have enough meat on the bone, which is there's enough opportunity for you to make a financial investment in those different areas I just mentioned, and then be able to have equity, which is the difference between what you owe on it and what it's worth. And that's really where your profit is. And flipping, you can keep it or you can sell it. For us, we were selling them and getting the cash infusion, and then buying more rental properties for long-term holds. And so that's how we expanded. I wasn't sure if you had a
Wow.
question.
No, I am it's amazing because you make it sound so easy.
Yeah,
Um
but it's
it yeah, and it's not. It really isn't. And I applaud you. Now, I'm just curious because I've been looking at some of the emails, and the number one question is, so how do we get in touch with you? Can anybody contact you? Are you to buy properties or to join doing what you're doing?
Yes, so my contact information, you can reach out to me on social media. So I have a Facebook page. It's my name, Jasmine Naylor. I think it's the Jasmine Naylor. You can find me on there. And I'm also on Instagram, and that's under Jasmine Naylor Enterprise. I try to be as responsive as much as I can so folks can always follow me. And if they have a question, they can ask it. I typically do events once a year, and people fly in from all over the country. And every year I typically rotate between a real estate focused event versus a money mastery event. And that evolved out of the folks who attended, right? My first conference was on real estate, and they said, okay, this is great. Now, how do we manage our money in order to do what you just told us to do in this conference? And so that's how my money mastery conference was born. And so I rotate typically between the two. And then also, as I'm on this journey of wealth building, I like to make sure I'm bringing other people along and being transparent as much as possible. So I share the journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. I'm 100% transparent, and I try to be as responsive to my audience as possible and create and curate what people need so that they can begin or continue executing on their own wealth journey, their own vision that they've set for themselves, and implementing their own plan.
Well, as you're talking, there they go. When is your next event? And the other question is, what is Naylor Nation?
Yes. So my next event isn't booked yet. So I do need to do one this year. It'll probably be towards the end of the year. So by all means, follow me on social media, because that is where I advertise. I advertise heavy on social media, and typically all of my events sell out. And so if folks are interested in wanting to be in a room that I curate, whether it's me teaching or bringing folks in, social media is the place to follow me at, because that is where I'm going to drop the information first. And when the tickets are sold, they're sold. I typically do not go looking for another venue. Once the work is done, it's done. And Naylor Nation, that is, interestingly, my last name is Naylor, of course. My husband is one of 10 children. He, let me rewind. His parents are past, they have 10 children together. My husband is the seventh child. Now have created 38 grandchildren for the matriarch and patriarch. And then also there are 12 great grandchildren.
Oh my God.
So Nailer Nation is all of that. It is the nation of nailers. And that is what encompasses Nailer Nation. And the name Nailer Nation popped up because of Nailer Nation Family Vacation. Somehow we coined that term years ago when we were going on vacation, which we do every year. And it's actually in a couple days, we're going on vacation. And anywhere from 30 to 60 people will be on this vacation. And we've been doing this for decades. I've been participating for, my son is 23 years now. And they were doing vacations, the matriarch and patriarch, before I joined in for years with their own children. So the whole goal is to keep the family united and together at least this one time of year, no matter what anybody has going on, carving the time out and coming together, which is Nailer Nation. And so that phrase was coined and we kept it and established some of our businesses under it. So we have Nailer Nation Construction, Nailer Nation Real Estate, and I'm actually going to be rebranding Jasmine Nailer Enterprise to Nailer Nation Education or Nailer Nation Enterprise. So that's what Nailer Nation is. It's the legacy that we have come from.
Now everyone knows because they're like, they have a whole nation. I'm just no. Listen, I cannot believe how quickly time is flying. But when you and I talked in our pre-show meeting, one of the things that, as I was talking to you, that is in very serious and significant, and I'll say engagement in one's married life that can help people be happy together is about partnership. And you have a very significant view of partnership. And I'm wondering if you could just take a couple of minutes to explain to all of our viewers and listeners why partnership is such a divine counterpart in marriage.
Absolutely. So I met my husband at the age of 13. And as I told you in our pre-show, I said, when I saw my husband very quickly, I said, that's my husband. I knew that was my husband without a doubt, even at a young age. And I had never even had a boyfriend. And he wasn't even my boyfriend at the time. I was in ninth grade. We met in study hall and I was just smitten with him. And the interesting thing is his parents have been married 49 years. And unfortunately, his mom recently just passed away a couple weeks ago, but she had met her husband, which is his father, at 14. And so some things run in the DNA. And so I believe long relationships, and I speak that over my children, that will be their story too. They don't have to be in the wild searching for long. But marriage and who you find as a partner is so important because they are the piece to the puzzle that will determine if you fulfill the destiny that God has designed and orchestrated for you or not. And in reverse, you are the puzzle piece to determine if your spouse fulfills the divine destiny the Lord has called them to fulfill. And so my husband and my story is similar to his parents' story. They met, there was nothing, and they created this entire nation. They have ministry, they have real estate as well. His mother had a boutique and was in the car rental business as well. And they were just all different things. And his father's very entrepreneurial. So him and I coming together was a beautiful thing because one, I knew very early that was my husband. But two, I found a man that does not try to dim my light. He 100% supports my visions, my dreams. I told you the first property we bought, he didn't even see the thing. He didn't, he saw it after I already put the offer and won the offer. He fully trusted me. And this is from a young age. And so we've built upon that and we've been able to literally grow from nothing. From my first apartment was a low income housing apartment. Then I moved right into a house with my husband. And so we were able to do these things together, grow from 0 to 30 units, getting into the flipping business, now doing new construction and affordable housing. if he did not trust the value that I brought to the table, and if I did not trust him as well to hashtag free Jasmine out of her 9 to 5, we wouldn't be where we are today. And by the grace and mercies of God, we have multi-millions in wealth because of the vision that God gave us and that we actually executed together and are continuing to execute together. And so your partner is truly pivotal in determining if you can fulfill everything God has for you outside of just wealth building, outside of just money. We have a beautiful family. We have our son who lives in Vietnam now, who now has traveled across the globe. He moved in November of his own accord. But again, I believe it was in the DNA because I had him young with my husband, and I intended to be in the Peace Corps. But when I had him at the age of the day before I turned 19, that went out the window for me. I was like, "Well, I got this baby. My responsibilities have reprioritized. This is the goal. Take care of this baby, have this family. And the Peace Corps is going to have to go somewhere else." But so when my son came to us, when we were chatting and was telling us, "Hey, I want to go to Thailand," because he lived in Thailand for 6 months first, I was like, "I'm all for it. I'm all for it," because it was already in my DNA. It just passed on to him. He's just the one to execute that. And so my husband was all for it as well. So we're super thankful to be in partnership with one another. And we still even haven't scratched the surface because he's still supporting me and taking other roles and responsibilities. Like I'm the executive director of the Western Mass Real Estate Investors Group, who bring together aspiring future investors as well as seasoned investors to network and to get educated together. And that was another role. I got tons of responsibilities already. I've got 5 kids ranging from 25 to 1. So it's really amazing.
Yes, it is. And I hope people heard 5 kids, and she's got all of these things on her plate as well, and full of energy, still letting her vision grow. And I love it. And I say still letting your vision grow, even though you didn't say that, but you said something that I made me know that that's the case, because you have to, you don't like to get pigeonholed, and you don't like to get stuck, and you have to use all those gifts and talents to keep growing and to keep doing things that not only benefit you and the Naylor Nation, but other people's lives. Out of all the things you do, what do you enjoy the most?
So the thing I absolutely love doing is teaching. And so I love to be able to educate on real estate, money mastery, wealth building, being a believer and balancing it all. So that's really like what really fills my tank, is being able to teach and speak about all of these different dynamic things that God has blessed me to be able to do, but to be able to share the journey with others so that they can be encouraged and then also understand it's possible. You can come from nothing and do much of something, and make it simple. I try to break it down as easy as I can for folks.
Jasmine, you said that you were very young, but you have this sense of money and in terms of good stewardship, management, understanding math and numbers, and that. But how young were you when this became important to you?
So that's so interesting you would ask me that. So I mentioned I came up in poverty. I gave my first loan to my mom probably when I was 7 years old. And so my knack for understanding the importance of saving a dollar and investing a dollar came at that, before that age. And my mother was living paycheck to paycheck. We were living in low income housing at the time, and the money wasn't stretching. I remember having to loan her some money. And my grandmother, or was it my aunt, would say, "Jasmine is the only kid you could give $1 to, and she will have that same exact dollar a year from now, if not more." And so it was just, when I say it was innate, it was nothing I saw in my environment. It was truly a gift from God that I understood how to save and then how to grow money. So my first job, as I would call it, my first entrepreneurial venture was I was hustling candy and chips out of my backpack in middle school. And then I was a babysitter and I was saving up my coins that way as well for my cousins.
Okay. So it's in you. You would have been the when the master went away and left you 5 coins. You would have been the one who doubled his money when he returned. So we're glad that that's there. You still have so many other things to look forward to. And I think we're having those to okay, can you hear me? Have you been hearing me?
It's breaking up.
Yeah. Yeah, you're freezing again. I'm going to take another quick commercial break because our time is going. So we're going to do that, Jasmine. And when we come back, what's next on the list? That's what we want to know about you.
Okay.
Okay.
Life can be unpredictable, and when those moments occur, you want the assurance that your family and property are protected. Sabatino Mastrocola Insurance Agency provides insurance coverage and security for every situation: home, life, flood, car, personal, or property. We're here to help you protect what matters most: your future. We are a full-service insurance agency providing experienced experts who speak Spanish, Portuguese, and English to assist you in acquiring the type of insurance coverage you need. That's the Sabatino Mastrocola promise. Contact us at 617-387-7466 or on our website, www.sabatino-ins.com. Get peace of mind today for uncertain tomorrows.
And we are back with our guest, Jasmine Naylor. And so, Jasmine, when you and I talked, we were talking about things that you felt the challenges that you had, and but you made a statement. You said knowing what to do next. So that's why I asked you the question, is because we're our time is at the end, but I know I've had people asking me this same thing. What is she going to do next? So what's next on the agenda?
So for the agenda for us, we are doing more new construction. We are adding more rental properties to our portfolio. We have 65 units in Atlanta that are under construction via a partnership we're in. We have our sites set across the United States as well as internationally. So we're not limiting ourselves to Massachusetts or to Puerto Rico. And outside of that, the goal is to hit a asset number of equity so that we can convert that into truly a passive paying opportunity where we don't have to work as hard. Because right now, I manage the rental portfolio. We work together on the flips as well as the new construction. And so the goal is turn all this work into a particular figure that then can return more easily in some other type of investment.
Well, I think you need to start one last company called Naylor Nation Next Generation so that you
Hey,
can educate the real estate flippers and fixers and developers and whatever else is involved. I think you can pass that on, and then you can sit back and see your nation is
definitely.
growing even larger.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that idea. That's phenomenal.
Well, I want to tell you, I cannot believe how quickly our time has flown by. Any any last minute words of advice to someone listening, someone viewing tonight who are saying, I want to be able to do that. I want to be able, other than look at her social media sites so you'll find out when her next event is on this, on real estate or entrepreneurship. But any last words of advice?
Yes, I would say always know what the Lord has you working on so that you can make sure you pass the class. I've always been attuned to trying to understand what I'm supposed to be learning in so that it can be in my tool belt for the next season the Lord is catapulting me to. So when I catch the wind in my sails and get to that next level, I'm fully equipped and not missing something. So in my season right now, it's a little painful because I got little people, old people, middle-aged people as my children, plus all of these businesses. And I missed the window to hire my admin assistant or two to catch up to make that happen. And so I'm clear that I missed that. And now I need to hurry up and catch up, because when the Lord catapults us to the next level, those people have to be in place plus more so that we can go to whatever that next level is. Before we hit our ultimate goal. And then who knows what we'll do at that point. But always know the class that you're in. Nobody should be able to tell you. Holy Spirit should have already spoken that into your ear. And if you're ignoring Holy Spirit, by all means, you're doing yourself a disservice, because he is all knowing. He is the counselor. He is with you. And you should know what you're working on in every season, whether it's your character, whether it's your communication skills, whether it's your ability to execute a vision with your partner, your husband, whether it's the way that you're parenting, whatever. You should know the classes that you're in so that you can set yourself up for success for the next stages that the Lord is going to bring you to. Because there's nothing like being unequipped where the Lord called you to be at.
I love the way you put that. Know what classes you're in, because we cannot stay infants in our knowledge or in our actions. We can't stay there. We got to grow up. We got to mature. And I love that. And while you're in the class, every class has tests. Pass the test. There you go.
Yeah.
I've added.
And know when you fail. Know when you fail, because opportunity to retake the test always comes. And it doesn't make sense to fail the same test over and over again. You should fail once, 0 or once, and then pass it the next time.
Okay. Listen, so again, tell us how to follow you.
So you can connect with me on social media, Facebook or Instagram. I do have a website, Jasmine Naylor Enterprise. You could also potentially link with me there. It is the Jasmine Naylor on Facebook, and it is Jasmine Naylor Enterprise on Instagram. And I do respond to my DMs. So if you want to DM me, by all means do. I will be on vacation, so it might take me longer than usual to respond.
Well, it sounds like you deserve this vacation. I hope you have a wonderful one. Jasmine, thank you so much for being on the show. You truly are a winning woman, and you are a blessed one. And thank you for what you shared with us this evening. And thank you for blessing us this evening. And we pray that you have nothing but continued success, because there's a lot of people who are happy in their homes and in their residences because of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. And for all of you who have been with us tonight, thank you for hanging in there. We apologize for any technical glitches, but it worked out. And we thank you for hanging in there with us. You know the schedule, same time, same place, next week with a new guest on the Winning Women Talk Show. So join us next week. And remember, no matter what goes on at the end of every day, love somebody.